is something to be said for an athlete's mindset before they go into battle. We have seen many people go into an undefeated hammer like Weili and be beat in the locker room before they ever even get to the cage. We've seen that's a very real thing. It's not a very real thing to assume that Joanna would do that, considering she has never done that before, ever, and that includes being locked in there with the bullet, I think 5 times in total between their kickboxing and their mixed martial arts fight. I think 5 times. If I'm wrong, it's 4. She brings her skills every single time. And when you do look at the Weili fight, in many ways, we're going to learn something here, okay? This is going to be a stand-up fight based on what we have seen from both of these ladies, not only in their competitions, but also in their training and preparation. They have all but stated, we're going to go kickbox. If you were to take that into terms of boxing or actual kickboxing, you would have to favor Joanna. The boxer, the skilled, smooth, counter-punching, offensive punching, footwork boxer is going to beat the brawler 9 out of 10 times. A boxer beats a brawler. Weili would qualify as a brawler because of 2 things. 1, the power, and 2, the aggression. That isn't meant to say she is not technical. That would be not understanding what you're looking at. She is fairly technical. But with her power and her aggression, she would qualify more into the category of brawler. If this was a purely stand-up fight, and the difference here and the distinction that I'm making, in a stand-up fight, they would be wearing 16-ounce gloves, which changes your defense, and it changes your abilities to defend. Putting a hand up and doing what's called the roll is very easy to do when you got a big pillow that covers the whole side of your head. In MMA, it is significantly different. You will have a lot of boxing coaches, by example, that come over to MMA. And on the very first day, they're going to talk to you about a jab and the importance of a jab. And on day number 2, they're going to talk to you about the importance of a body shot. They're going to say, I've been studying MMA, I don't see enough jabs, and I don't see hardly any body shots. Well, then once they learn MMA over a period of time, they realize, the jab isn't all that effective in MMA because of the size of the glove and what you're susceptible to when you step into jab range, and dipping down to go to the body means the other opponent just grabs your head and knees you in the face. So they're very good techniques, and a guy that can control with the jab is a very rare thing. It's a thing of beauty when you see it. Go see George St. Pierre versus Josh Koscheck Part 2. You'll see the effectiveness to a jab. I don't want to dismiss it. Go see any of Jose Aldo fights. You'll see the effectiveness of digging down to the body. But you are talking about the greatest of all time in St. Pierre, and you're talking about the greatest featherweight of all time of Jose Aldo. It's not for broad stroke terms. You start to see where power punches become more important than peppering somebody. In boxing, with the bigger gloves, you see the effectiveness to peppering somebody. Boom, slip that power shot in, go back to peppering them, win the rounds, go to the end of the night, get your hand raised on the judges' scorecards. A little bit different. And while the intricacies are small, and I will admit that, it is different with a 4-ounce glove on, and it does make you wonder, okay, look, Weili's aggression and power, that seems to translate really well. I don't know how well Amanda Nunes would do in the world of boxing or kickboxing. Maybe great. I'm sure open. I don't know. But I do know where she comes out and puts an emphasis on power and aggression has taken her to become the greatest women's female fighter to ever exist. But it is different. It is different strikes. She doesn't go out with teeps and try to feel you like some athletes. She comes out, she stalks you, and she destroys. Totally different. But I think that carries over to Weili. I see a lot of Amanda in Weili when it comes to power and it comes to aggression. I see that. It's very difficult, though, to ignore the lessons that we have learned from boxing since the 1960s to present day, which says the boxer beats the brawler. It's very hard to ignore that. And a lot of people want to broad stroke this and take a lazy approach and go, well, it's a different sport. It's MMA. I get that it's a different sport, but if you're willing to concede to me my initial argument, which is you have 2 kickboxers, and just because they're going to go fight in MMA, if they go out there and all they do is kickbox, we can essentially defer back to this is a kickboxing match. So the difference isn't the unified rules. The difference is the gloves. The gloves make a big deal. They change your defense. They change what you have to do. I would not maintain that anybody wants to go out there over a 25-minute period and deal with Weili's power, but I would argue back, nobody wants to go out there over 25 minutes and have to deal with the technical aspects of Joanna Champion. It's a very interesting fight. The odds makers are favoring Weili. The fans are pushing back to those odd makers. This line has changed immensely, and it's purely out of respect to Joanna. To make believe that Weili can go out there and run over Joanna like she ran over everybody else is nothing short of disrespectful. It doesn't mean it's not possible. Weili is a rare talent, much like Amanda. I have to go back to that. We can count Amanda out as many times as we used to. Nobody would count Amanda out now. That's been different for about the last 15 months. But they used to. There used to be a belief if you drag her deep, if you get her tired, things change. I think for a period of time it might have even been true. She just saw her own weaknesses, went and got better, filled those gaps in. When you look at Weili, there is something to be said about championship rounds, and there is a big question mark. Can she do it? The answer could unequivocally be yes. But until she does it, and you have that question, human psychology, for whatever reason, tends to lean towards no. I don't believe it and I don't accept it until you prove me wrong. Should this fight get out of the very first round? Common logic would lean to the fact that that aggression and that power is going to diminish. Does it diminish enough? Does it change the fight? These are all the questions. But that's also what I'm prescribing and proposing, rather, for you guys, is that we're going to learn something here. Can the brawler beat the technician with the 4-ounce gloves? Can the tornado sustain for all 5 rounds? Is Joanna going to keep this standing up? Is Joanna going to close the distance, grab a hold of her, use some of that tie plum, some of that tie clinch, deliver knees to the body, take a little of that spunk out of Weili? Is Joanna planning to be reactive or proactive? Very different terms. If she's planning to be reactive, I'm not going to love that. When you have a bull coming at you, so your plan is to just move out of the way, sometimes that's the best thing that you can do. The other thing is when you have a bully, come and punch him in the nose. I think we're going to see something here. I've just got the feeling on this fight that we've got a bit of a history-making fight here. And I realize how high Weili's star is, but you guys would concede to me a win over Joanna means something. It means something different than beating any other woman in the division. It means something very special. But a win for Joanna, while playing a game that is Joanna's game, is not as unlikely as the odds makers originally believed.